Hello, let's try this again. Um, we keep getting cursed. There's some sort of awful, awful circumstance surrounding our efforts here. But Andy, let's see if we can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Let's see if the stream can. It's like doing kids' TV, isn't it?
Chat, can you hear the person?
Hey, Gecko, give us the thumbs up. A sign of approval, which is all we're really seeking in this.
First person to say they can hear us wins the raffle.
What are we raffling? Is it chapter 2 of Moby Dick?
You bet it is, Sam.
Whoa, we're in for a treat. About chapter 2 of Moby Dick, Andy, as our resident Moby Dick wrangler, you have mentioned to me that there was some pretty sus content in chapter 2, which has preemptively been a victim of cancel culture. Our own specific version of it, because cancel culture is good, actually.
Yeah, rightly so.
There's some pretty racist shit that occurs, as far as I understand. So you've changed a couple of little bits.
Yeah.
And we might talk a little bit about why you've changed them when we get to them. I don't know what they are, but we're just going to see how it goes.
Sure.
So was there any other further points of order we should discuss before we launch into this?
Just that I'm very excited to get started. I've got the same outfit on. I'm in character. It's definitely not just because I haven't changed my outfit for the past 7 days.
I've had a shower. We are polar opposites here.
That's very nautical.
Boat question: did they have showers on boats? What was the cleanliness like? And will we learn about it in Moby Dick?
I don't imagine sailors in those days being like, I've had this kind of water splashed on me, but I want to have a different kind of water splashed on me.
And that'll be why they were called salty sea dogs, because they just couldn't have a shower, and the only water they had access to, but you couldn't drink, or that wasn't reserved for drinking, was the stuff that the sea gives you for free. It's got salt in it.
You're sounding more and more like a salty sea dog yourself, Sam, when you describe these things.
I'm practically saline. All right, so fuck's sake, that was terrible. I promise never to say that again. All right, here we are with Moby Dick, Chapter 2, The Carpet Bag. First off, Andy, what's a carpet bag, and is it a Mary Poppins thing?
I think you've answered your own question there, because I think it is a Mary Poppins thing. He says not having actually seen Mary Poppins. But yeah, it's a bag where you make it out of some carpet.
If they cover what a carpet bag is here, we will come back to this. But for now, that's all that's in my mind. And again, we're talking about hooks, about getting the audience, interested. Yeah. So, who is Mary Poppins is a question that we may find ourselves answering as we read on. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. Is this a mystery we're going to solve? No, because was Mary Poppins written when this came out?
Oh God, I don't. You know what? You've found a major hole in my knowledge, which is that I know nothing about Mary Poppins. But I don't think so. I would guess she wrote it probably in, I don't know, 1950s or something. Let's say that. That's a guess.
Yeah, 1950s Mary Poppins. So a vision of the future. Okay, we're coming back to fix this later on, but that's just to get us going. All right, here we go. I will take the first paragraph. Chapter 2, The Carpet Bag. I stuffed a shirt or two into my old carpet... We're talking about the carpet bag already. This is fantastic. I stuffed a shirt or two into my old carpet bag, tucked it under my arm, and started for Cape Horn and the Pacific, quitting the good city of Old Manhattan. Is this Manhattan, or is this a different place? And is this just what they used to call it back then? Is he in New York? I thought he was on a nice island. But Manhattan's an island.
He's trying to make his way to Nantucket, which is an island. Let's figure out where Manhattan is.
I thought Nantucket was in like the deep south of the US.
Don't think so.
I'm not good at geography.
If only there were a way of finding this out when you have the internet open in front of you.
Oh well, that's a shame. Quitting the good city of Old Manhattan, I duly arrived in New Bedford. It was a Saturday night in December. Much as I was disappointed upon learning that the little packet for Nantucket, that almost rhymes, had already sailed, and that no way of reaching that place would offer till the following Monday. This is very basic. Okay. So, carpet bag.
Yeah.
I slung some shirts into my bag. It's just a bag. Fuck off, Mary Poppins. The bag. Because again, you're like, what's the bag? It still works. I slung some shirts into my bag. I went off to... I went off. No, and left Manhattan, wherever that is. We should find out. Andy, can you do some researching for me? Can you find out if Manhattan is what they used to call Manhattan?
I was just looking for where New Bedford is, and yeah, Nantucket is an island, so that's good.
But is it near New York? Is this why it's a great American novel? Because it makes you ask these questions about America.
Let's see, what does it say? Manhattan is a term describing a place and mistakenly a people. The place was the very southern tip of Manhattan Island in the time
it's Manhattan.
of the Dutch colonization of what became New Amsterdam, so yeah, New York.
Manhattan Island, New York. So everyone knows where it is. I don't know if the place is called Manhattan. Okay. Manhattan Island, New York. To try and get to Nantucket. But there were no... Okay, would I need to get a boat or a wagon? He said packet. I don't know what the fuck that means in this context.
That's a little boat. It's a boat. It's a boat that takes you places.
But there were no boats.
It's a boat Uber.
So I was fucked for travel for a bit. Okay, that's paragraph done.
Excellent.
Oh yeah, it was a Saturday night in December.
I mean, that's your editorial choice. Do we need to know that it's a Saturday night in December?
It's going to be chilly. And there's going to be drunk peeps about. So let's cover that. It was a Saturday night in December. So it was cold. Yeah, there we go. That's yes. Really setting the scene.
I'm so glad we're taking the great American novel and converting it into this.
Yeah, it's just for the betterment of everyone. All right, you've got a big fella here.
I'm looking forward to it. Okay. As most young candidates for the pains and penalties of whaling stop at this same New Bedford, thence to embark on their voyage, it may as well be related that I, for one, had no idea of so doing, for my mind was made up to sail in no other than a Nantucket craft, because there was a fine boisterous something about everything connected with that famous old island, which amazingly pleased me. Besides, though New Bedford has of late been gradually monopolizing the business of whaling, and though in this matter poor old Nantucket is now much behind her, yet Nantucket was her great original, the Tyre of this Carthage, the place where the first dead American whale was stranded. Where else but from Nantucket did those whalers, the Wampanoag, first sally out in canoes to give chase to the Leviathan? And where but from Nantucket, too, did that first adventurous little sloop put forth, partly laden with imported cobblestones, so goes the story, to throw at the whales, in order to discover when they were nigh enough to risk a harpoon from the bowsprit. All right. So, any questions for this? I mean, it's
so many questions. Okay, first of all, I'm again geography check. Is he trying to get to New Bedford or Nantucket, and are they the same place?
He's trying to get to Nantucket. Nantucket's an island. New Bedford's on the mainland on the west coast.
But it's the best place to get to.
Yeah, apparently you can sail out from there to get to Nantucket.
Okay. So, as most young candidates for the pains and penalties of whaling, stop at the same New Bedford. Okay, so it's the place to be. It's the place for young, boisterous lads who want to do whaling to go and get started.
Who want to throw rocks at whales.
Yeah. So... yeah. I think I've used this exact phrasing before, but people love repetition. It's the best thing to just keep reading the same words over and over again.
I mean, what would John Everyman say? John Everyman would just say, don't worry about it, I presume.
If I were the type of fella looking to go out and do some whaling, which I was, and be looking to get started from Nantucket, which, by the way, is an island most easily accessible by a little boat from New Bedford, which is where I was now stuck for a weekend. A lot of whaling history in Nantucket. They've been... Okay, who are these Wampanoag?
It's a Native American or American Indian nation.
They've been whaling here since back before they even had harpoons.
Well...
They used to just... What? Have I got this wrong? Have I misunderstood?
I think they may well have been using her. I think this is a later thing where other people later on have gone out with cobblestones to see if they're. It's not that they don't have harpoons.
They were throwing stones to see how far away something was.
Yeah, so then because that's how else do you tell how far away something is?
Just look at it. Like you got two eyes, got rangefinder built into the noggin.
It's the olden days.
You can still just look at something and see how far away it is.
I mean, according to every metric that we're given in this, they couldn't.
All right, well, I'll work with it. Okay, so they did have harpoons. They've been whaling here for ages. Invented it, basically. These, I'm going to spell this wrong, so I'm just going to copy paste. I can't find it. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
That is not how I would have guessed you spelled that. Basically, invented it, basically. Is Wampanoag set out from there ages back. Before people had even figured out how to tell how far away things are with their eyes. Did you know they used to have to chuck rocks at the whales to see how far away they were? Fuck being a builder back in them days. Anyway, Nantucket's the place for a whaleman to be. Knowing that there were no fairies there then.
That's good. Making it extra clear for the reader.
We've repeated it like 3 times.
Yeah, I like it. There's absolutely zero trust in the reader's comprehension.
No, that's why we're doing this. This is you would have to be trying like on purpose to not understand what's happening here.
Is this an opportunity to read back yet, do you think, or do you think we keep pressing on?
I say we'll do a 3-paragraph rule.
Okay.
So next one is going to be me. So Now, having a night, a day, and still another night, it's like a short weekend. And still another night following before me in New Bedford. Ere I could embark for my destined port, it became a matter of concernment where I was to eat and sleep meanwhile. That hotels, my dude. It was a very dubious-looking, nay, a very dark and dismal night, bitingly cold and cheerless. I knew no one in the place. With anxious grapnels I had sounded my pocket. I mean, it just means just had a grub around in his pocket.
Yeah.
Only brought up a few pieces of silver. So wherever you go, Ishmael, said I to myself as I stood in the middle of a dreary street, shouldering my bag, and comparing the gloom towards the north with the darkness towards the south. Wherever in your wisdom you may conclude to lodge for the night, my dear Ishmael, be sure to inquire the price, and don't be too particular. Oh, this is very relatable.
I was going to say, you're going to have fun with this.
Alright. Oh, this works into it well. Yeah, so a whole weekend with no bed and no friends. It rhymes.
That's putting a lot of pressure on the rest of this. If we're going to start rhyming lines as well.
I had a quick poke around. I think I'm trying to explain what pockets are because would Herman Melville know? Like, would this be common phrasing?
Well,
would he write it so that we explain what it is in some roundabout way?
Wait, you've confused me.
Oh, no, he did say pocket. He did say pocket. Okay.
He does say pocket, so he probably knows what pockets are.
Okay, we can use pocket. That's a normal word. I don't kick poke around in... He just says pocket, so just one pocket.
My pocket. Yeah, he's got one pocket. He's a poor man.
Okay, no, I've got one pocket on these trousers, actually. I'm wearing those... I can't stand up and show you, because it's really high camera. I'd have to jump.
Is it against Twitch terms of use?
Yeah. We'd get instantly banned. A whole weekend with no bed, no friends. I had a quick poke around in my pocket, and let's clarify, in my one pocket.
Is the one pocket where you keep Twitch's terms of use?
I've never even read them, you know. Don't throw me in jail, but I ticked the box saying I had, but I've actually not.
Oh.
I had a quick poke around in my one pocket, and had a bit of a time of it. No, it sounds like he's wanking.
I mean, is that capturing the spirit of the original? I don't know.
He's not given us anything to imply that Ishmael is that kind of guy yet. Click around in my one pocket. Found only... no. Full stop. Because full stops is like the Dan Brown thing. It's like, full stop. I have this thought. And then I have this thought. And people are like, okay, let's not dwell on it. Let's just move on. I didn't have much money. If you're saying it to yourself, would you put it in quote marks? Okay, Ishmael. I said to myself.
Yeah, I'd put that in quote marks. Don't have to. You could italicize it.
You can imply he's saying it out loud. I said to myself, this is shit. You've got no cash and no friends. And now you're in a town you don't know. And we gotta find a place to sleep. For a short weekend. It's not a long weekend, and it's not a normal weekend. It's just one off. Let's just say 2 nights. We don't want people to ask themselves questions. Place to.
Yeah, that's the mission of all fiction.
Stay for 2 nights before we can ditch this. What would he say? How would he describe the town? this, like he said, it was gloom to
It's
gloom to the
dreary.
north. Yeah, dreariness to the north, and darkness to the. Where was it?
Gloom towards the north with the darkness towards the south.
Okay. Ditch this place. Gloom to the north of me. And what was it? Grimness?
Darkness.
Ah. I'm going to capitalize it to make it sound more malevolent.
To make it sound more like a TripAdvisor review.
And darkness to the south. I was going to have to pinch some pennies, choose a proper dive, and not complain too much about everything all the time. Because I know he's going to. Pennies. Yeah. Pinch some pennies. Okay. Alright, let's have a read through. It's on you.
Okay. Chapter 2, The Bag. I slung some shirts into my bag and left Manhattan Island, New York, to try and get to Nantucket. But there were no boats, so I was fucked for travel for a bit. It was a Saturday night in December, so it was cold. If I were the type of fella looking to go out and do some whaling, which I was, I'd be looking to get started from Nantucket, which, by the way, is an island, most easily accessible by a little boat from New Bedford, which is where I was now stuck for a weekend. A lot of whaling history in Nantucket. They've been whaling here for ages, invented it, basically. These Wampanoags set up from their ages back, before people had even figured out how to tell how far away things are with their eyes. Did you know they used to have to chuck rocks at the whales to see how far away they were? Fuck being a builder back in them days, eh? Do you want to take that last bit?
I think I can. Eh? If that's how they do measurements, I'd rather use a tape measure. Does that work? No, let's lose that line.
I like it, the John Everyman thing of just making it crystal clear what he's trying to say.
No, we'll lose it. It's gone. It's gone. It makes people think, and that's not what we're trying to do. Anyway.
Okay, finish the last bit?
Yeah.
Anyway, Nantucket's the place for a whaleman to be. Annoying that there were no ferries there then. A whole weekend with no bed and no friends. I had a quick poke around in my one pocket. I didn't have much money. Okay, that somehow sounds much worse. Yeah. Okay, Ishmael, I said to myself, this is shit. You've got no cash and no friends. And now you're in a town you don't know, and you got to find a place to stay for 2 nights before we can ditch this place. Gloom to the north of me and darkness to the south. I was going to have to pinch some pennies, choose a proper dive, and not complain too much about everything all the time. This feels like it's got into the flow now. This is like yeah. I like this.
Okay, so just in this one. So with halting steps, it's you.
With halting steps, I paced the streets and passed the sign of the crossed harpoons, but it looked too expensive and jolly there. Further on from the bright red windows of the Swordfish Inn, there came such fervent rays that it seemed to have melted the packed snow and ice from before the house. Everywhere else, the congealed frost lay in 10 inches thick in a hard, asphaltic pavement. Rather weary for me when I struck my foot against the flinty projections, because from hard, remorseless service the soles of my boots were in a most miserable plight. Too expensive and jolly again, thought I, pausing one moment to watch the broad glare in the street and hear the sounds of the tinkling glasses within. But go on, Ishmael, said I at last. Don't you hear? Get away from before the door. Your patched boots are stopping the way.
Oh.
So on I went. I now by instinct follow the streets that took me waterward, for there doubtless were the cheapest, if not the cheeriest, inns.
That's really sad.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. So he walks up to... Yep, all right.
Are you going to edit out the sadness?
No, I'm keeping it in. We're getting him right into that hole.
Do we not want? Do we want the reader to feel things? We just don't want them to think.
Yeah, we want them to feel things without having to analyze why they're feeling it. So we've got to really lay it on thick, I think. Actually, I took a deep breath and braced for disappointment. Stepping out into the town, I saw the most perfect place. It had a big sign, and it looked warm, and all the people inside it were so happy and content and had friends. My view into the dining room, I guess. Yeah, bar. My view into the bar eventually, because then was eventually blocked by the steam from my own... I can't put stinky mouth, just my own mouth settling on the once clean windows. It was even called, what was it, the crossed harpoons?
The first one's the crossed harpoons, and the next one's swordfishing.
The crossed harpoons. It was perfect for a whaley sailor type such as myself, but it was not perfect for my financial situation. Sadly, I crossed the street to rest my weary face against the window. Same situation. It was a cozy paradise. The snow was melting away.
This is an epic.
Back into the streets. This place was so warm. Warm with the normal temperature. Yeah. Temperature sort of warmth. But also with the warmth of companionship and goodwill. The swordfish, it was called. It was also a bit too expensive for my pockets. I turned away and started out deeper into the... I can't use grotty, that don't work. Into the... Yeah, just worse.
Icy.
So I'm going to get there. Into the worst parts of town. Since that was more my speed. It was then...
It's also near the water, so he's...
Yeah, true. I was midway through a big, sad sigh when I tripped up over a massive chunk of ice that was just really properly solid with the pavement. because it was really cold away from those nice warm inns. I think that works.
I don't think there's any doubt left about it being sad, is there?
I think that ended up being a bit longer than the original, though.
Which is fine for clarity, I guess.
I think it was pretty clear to start with, actually. Oh, and his shoes were fucked.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I love that image. The idea that we get introduced to how miserable his boots are, and he seems kind of ashamed to say it. And then the bit later on where he's like, "Oh, you're gonna have to move on, Ishmael. Get away from this door.
Oh, yeah, we got to get that.
Stopping the way." It's like,
yeah. Okay, we're getting that.
He's reduced to his pair of boots.
Yeah, it was a bit too expensive for my pockets. And my boots. Which were in a really bad state. I'm not going to do the Pratchett knowing what street you're on by the feel of the cobbles thing, but which were in a really bad state. So I thought I'd better get them out of everybody's way. Yeah, that works. That's really good. Okay, that's a really good paragraph.
I like that.
I mean, the original. Mine's okay.
Okay.
Such dreary streets, blocks of blackness, not houses. That's just because it's dark, Ishmael. Blocks of blackness, not houses, on either hand, and here and there a candle, like a candle moving about in a tomb. Have you edited that one, or did he really double candles like that?
Yeah, well, it's like saying not just like a candle moving around; it's like a candle moving
different
around
candle.
Too. Yeah, it's a metaphorical candle.
Oh, okay. Such dreary streets, blocks of blackness, not houses on either hand, and here and there a candle, like a candle moving around in a tomb. Oh, about in a tomb. At this hour of the night of the last day of the week, that quarter of the town proved all but deserted. Okay, this is a quick and easy one.
Yeah.
It was really dark. Okay. I think that covers it.
Cool. And yeah, just for reference, that is where I removed a paragraph because it was being stupid.
Okay. It was really dark and not that busy. All right.
Okay. Moving on, I at last came to a dim sort of light not far from the docks, and heard a forlorn creaking in the air, and looking up saw a swinging sign over the door with a white painting upon it, faintly representing a tall, straight jet of misty spray, and these words underneath, "The Spouter Inn, Peter Coffin."
Before I leap in onto something like this, is Peter Coffin is it like a chain? And he owns the Spouter Inn? Or does it spout into Peter Coffin? Like, what is this? Is it called Peter's Coffin? Is it an old name? What's happening? Are we going to meet a character called... I mean, he starts asking it, doesn't he?
Yeah, okay. I mean, you're getting ahead of the text, but I think these are all good questions.
Okay, let's put
I
that
do
in.
like the idea that it's a chat. I mean, it's no worse than whatever it is, the Travel Lodge calling the offers the big sleep, and it's they're like, "Oh, new offers the big sleep," and it's like the big sleep is a metaphor for death.
Yes.
So anyway,
okay.
You got the spirit of this one.
Going on through the night. That's a song in it. People love little song references. I don't know what song it's from, but
I know
through the night. What is that?
I don't know. I think you've just made it up.
Through the night. Nah, I've lost it. Going on through the night. Ah, shit. No, that's going to haunt me now. Going on through the night. I eventually found something that wasn't dark. No. I eventually found... what did he say?
I like that because you don't want the reader to be in suspense for too long. We've just had that previous paragraph. It was really dark. Now I found somewhere where it wasn't that dark. So yeah.
I mean, it even has moving on, so we're done with that thought.
True.
Yeah, I'm keeping moving on. Moving on. I got a place that wasn't dark and was a bit more busy. That's that chapter you've put behind your selfish mail. There was yeah. Oh, busy with the sound of an ominous creaking. I'm keeping the ominous creaking. Ominous creaking from a sign above me. I'm assuming the sign was above him. It was over a door. The sound from a sign above a door. Yeah, above a door. It had a picture of a whale blast. What do you call it when a whale's doing that? With a picture of a whale spouting. No,
spouting.
Splashing water around. Splashing water out of its top hole. It had some text too. The text said...
Good clarity.
The text said... The Spouter Inn. And then... How's he... Okay. Oh, he's done one of them double long... Is that how you do... How do you make a really long dash?
You just... for word, just hit two of them and then type another word and space after it, and it should do it automatically.
It's not doing it.
Ah.
I'm going to do a normal one.
Yeah.
Peter Coffin. And I know that the next paragraph covers this a bit, but I want to get my thoughts on this first. Sorry, Herman.
Okay. You can always delete them if they're wrong, I guess. Good.
True. What the fuck kind of signage was this? I had more questions than answers in my head at the time. And those questions were as follows. Who is Peter Coffin?
I'm just looking at how closely this aligns with the next paragraph.
This is guesswork here, I'm predicting.
No, I know. It's uncanny, though.
Is Peter Coffin a person? Is this place a coffin for people called Peter? Was a man named Peter killed here? Was Peter Coffin an owner or organization which had since gone on to franchise this inn, which was originally called the Spouter Inn? Okay, that's a really long question he's asking there. I was going to find out.
Somebody needs to ask it.
Ah, yeah. That's really good. That sounds like a detective story.
That's good. Yeah, that's...
Somebody needs to ask the questions. That fucking tight.
But as we established earlier, we don't want the reader to have to remember that this is a question for too long, so we need to answer it within the next few paragraphs.
I went in thinking about asking them. Okay. Do you want to do the read through or shall I?
You go for it this time.
Okay. Where did we get to? I'll just go from okay, Ishmael, I said to myself. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Ishmael, I said to myself. This is shit. You've got no cash and no friends, and now you're in a town you don't know, and you've got to find a place to stay for 2 nights before we can ditch this place. Gloom to the north of me and darkness to the south. I was going to have to pinch some pennies, choose a proper dive, and not complain too much about everything all the time. I took a deep breath and braced for disappointment. Stepping out into the town, I saw the most perfect place. It had a big sign and it looked warm, and all the people inside it were so happy and content and had friends. My view into the bar was eventually blocked by the steam from my own mouth, settling on the once clean windows. It was even called the Crossed Harpoons. It was perfect for a whaley sailor type such as myself, but not perfect for my financial situation. Sadly, I crossed the street to rest my weary face against another window. Same situation. It was a cozy paradise. The snow was melting away back into the streets. This place was so warm. Warm with the normal temperature sort of warmth, but also with the warmth of companionship and goodwill. The swordfish it was called. It was also a bit too expensive for my pockets and my boots, which were in a really bad state, so I thought I'd better get them out of everybody's way. I turned away and started out deeper into the worst parts of town, since that was more my speed. I was midway through a big sad sigh when I tripped up over a massive chunk of ice that was just really properly solid with the pavement. I've got to throw in a you know, because that's how you'd say that. You know? Yeah. Because it was really cold away from those nice warm inns. It was really dark and not that busy. Moving on, I got to a place that wasn't dark and was a bit more busy. Busy with the sound of an ominous creaking from a sign above a door. It had a picture of a whale splashing water out of its top hole. It had some text too. The text said, "Spouter Inn, Peter Coffin." What the fuck kind of signage was this? I had more questions than answers in my head at the time, and those questions were as follows. Who is Peter Coffin? Is Peter Coffin a person? Is this place a coffin for people called Peter? Was a man named Peter killed here? Was Peter Coffin an owner or organisation, which had since gone on to franchise this inn, which was originally called the Spouter Inn? Somebody needs to ask the questions, and that somebody is me. The tense is all over the place there. I went in thinking about asking them. Somebody needed to ask the questions, and that somebody was me. Okay.
Nice.
Let's see how far off the real deal we were.
It's uncanny. I mean, I do want to read this paragraph still, just if only because it means that you have to read the next paragraph, which is about a page long.
Oh no, it's got the cable end. Cable ended. Okay, you go.
Huh?
Yeah, give us that coffin spouter.
Okay. Coffin spouter. Rather ominous in that particular connection, thought I. But it is a common name in Nantucket, they say, and I suppose this Peter here is an emigrant from there. As the light looked so dim and the place for the time looked quiet enough, and the dilapidated little wooden house itself looked as if it might have been carted here from the ruins of some burnt district, and as the swinging sign had a poverty-stricken sort of creak to it, I thought that here was the very spot for cheap lodgings and the best of pea coffee.
Pea coffee?
Apparently it's a cheaper bean.
Okay. My pocket issues weren't bothering me anyhow. Looking at the place, weird name aside, it was a fucking dump.
You've got to get the bit in about it looking like it had been carted here from the ruins of some burnt district.
Looked like it had been set on fire in some other town and then dragged into its current location. I bet. Yeah. I bet they knew how to make pea coffee, though. Okay, we need to find out what pea coffee is so we can answer the question.
It is apparently just a different shaped coffee bean, and I guess the implication is maybe that it's cheaper.
Right. Coffee and that's something involving peas. As a less learned man than I might suspect. Okay, we've covered it. We've explained something that Melville missed a trick with. Okay. Is there anything else good in there that I needed to fold in?
I think
the poverty-stricken creek. Yeah, I've got it. I'm working that in earlier.
Oh, the sign sounds cheap.
Yeah. What was it? Was busy with the ominous poverty sounding creaking. Does that work?
Poverty stricken sort of creek.
Yeah, okay, poverty.
Maybe start with it like a simile, so it sounded like, and then go from there. I don't know.
Busy with a sound of an ominous poverty-stricken sort of creaking from. I think that works. It's nowhere near as elegant as what it originally was, but I think it gets it across.
Yeah, it's like the same atmosphere.
Yeah, like a playground in Chernobyl or something. Yeah, that swing, that famous swing. Okay, this is a fucking long one. Jesus Christ.
Do you want to break it up? Do you want to go down to the only glazier and then have a pause?
No. I'm going to find my flow with this. This is going to be absolutely fine.
Go for it.
Okay.
Oh, also, just before you do, there's a contribution from Ratman Scoop in chat confirming that tape measures were not invented until the 1860s, which is just around when this book came out.
Holy shit!
Yeah. So up until that point, everybody measured things by throwing cobblestones. So confirmed.
This is good to know. Okay, here we go. It was a queer sort of place. A gable-ended old house, one side palsied as it were, and leaning over sadly, like me. It stood on a sharp, bleak corner, where that tempestuous wind Euroclydon kept up a worse howling than ever it did about poor Paul's tossed craft. Euroclydon.
I'd say Euroclydon, that sounds fine.
Nevertheless is a mighty pleasant zephyr to any one indoors with his feet on the hob, quietly toasting for bed. What the fuck? What was a hob a different thing back in the day?
We'll come back to it.
Okay. Jesus Christ, no wonder his boots are fucked. In judging of that tempestuous wind called Euroclydon, says an old writer, of whose works I possess the only copy extant, it maketh a marvellous difference whether thou lookest out at it from a glass window, where the frost is all on the outside, or whether thou observest it from that sashless window, where the frost is on both sides, and of which the white death itself is the only glazier. True enough, thought I, as this passage occurred to my mind. Old black letter, thou reasonest well. Yes, these eyes are windows, and this body of mine is the house. What a pity that they didn't stop up the chinks and the crannies, though, and thrust in a little lint here and there. But it's too late to make any improvements now. The universe is finished. The copestone is on, and the chips were carted off 1,000,000 years ago. Poor Lazarus there, chattering his teeth against the curbstone for his pillow, and shaking off his tatters with his shiverings. He might plug up both ears with rags and put a corn cob into his mouth, and yet that would not keep out the tempestuous Euroclydon. Euroclydon, says old Dives in his red silken wrapper. He had a redder one afterwards. Pooh, pooh! What a fine frosty night! How Orion glitters! And what northern lights! Let them talk of their oriental summer climes of everlasting conservatories! Give me the privilege of making my own summer with my own coals!
That's very, very nicely read. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it?
Yeah, no questions there. We're just going to leave this paragraph. Because I feel like this makes no fucking sense. We don't need this.
Should we let's break it? I think there's some worthwhile stuff in here.
Okay.
I think if only to get this image of poor Lazarus with his
corn cob. Was it him with the corn cob?
Yeah, corn cob stuffed in his mouth to keep the wind out.
What the fuck? All right, break it down, Andy.
Okay, let's break it down. So we'll start with, so it's a strange place. It's a bit of a weird built building. It's palsied, so we can assume it looks a bit kind of
old and wibbly.
Yeah. And Euroclydon is just, I think, it's like a name for a type of wind in the Mediterranean, I think. So, I don't know.
They say it a lot. They're putting a lot of expectation on the reader to know what the fuck a Euroclydon is.
I think we're getting into some biblical stuff with poor Paul's tossed craft. And then saying, I think basically what we're getting to, big winds aren't great. And then we get into this idea that big winds aren't too bad if you're inside toasting your feet over a hob in preparation for going to bed, as you do.
Mm.
And then,
is that a thing people do or did?
I mean, putting your feet quite close to the fire is nice. Putting your feet on a hob.
On the hob is a game changer.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that's maybe how his boots got a bit messed up. I phased out when you were...
different types of windows.
Yeah.
Some windows are better against cold than others. We all know that. Double glazing.
It maketh a marvellous difference whether you lookest out from a glass window where the frost is on the outside, whether thou observest it from that sashless window where the frost is on both sides, and of which the white death is the only glazier. So, like, yeah, it's making a big difference if you've got a nice window to look out of, or a not so nice window.
All right, cool.
Should we pause there and then we'll translate the second bit after your...
Well, no, I'm confused about this part where it says death is the only glazier, because glazier is a guy who makes glass, right?
Uh-huh.
And we're talking about this sashless window where the frost is on both sides. Is this literally just death is going out there, like not literally, but death is going out there, getting people to have windows that aren't even real windows. Because it says sashes, so you get a sash window. That's the one that goes like up and down, right? That's a sash window. Or did sash mean something different back then?
No, I think that makes sense.
But when he says sashless window, does he mean like the part that moves is just missing and it's not a full window? And Death has got some sort of scam going on where he's selling these windows that don't keep out the frost. So it's not that the frost is on each side of the window, it's in the fucking room, and now you're dead. And you've...
Yeah. I mean, is he saying that it's just no window at all, basically? Is it
I think that's what he's getting at.
That?
And the only person clever enough to invent not a window would be Death. It's a lot of hyperbole. Yeah. Increasing the traffic.
Yeah, I feel there's an illusion I'm missing in all of this when he's talking about the old writer talking about it, but I think that'll do for our interpretation.
Okay. So
you've got to know when to quit in terms of updating a text, and this is one of those moments.
I mean, if we can't figure it out, Andy, no one's got any chance. So we just.
I don't believe anybody would even attempt it. Yeah.
The building, like I say, was knackered. How do I go from that to this? I mean, yeah, I went off on one when he didn't, so that's really my fault. Is he on the
I think that's fine. I mean, you're doing the same beats. It's like talking about maybe they've got bad coffee and then saying the building looked bad.
Okay, what's his transition to not having a window will kill you? So it describes it. It looked like shit.
It's all right.
And it was windy as fuck.
Yeah, it's all right if it's windy as fuck if you're inside and you're all toasty. But if you're not,
like I say, the building, like I say, was knackered though. Looked like shit, and it was really, really windy. The thing about it being windy, especially when it's cold, is that what the fuck? This is not gonna work. Especially when it's cold. It's really handy to have a window or a wall or some such between yourself.
Maybe it needs to be more generalized.
What do you mean?
Maybe it needs to be more general, like, we all like it being windy when we're not outside in the wind. But if you are outside in the wind, it's bad.
It just sounds like we don't need it. This is obvious. People know this these days. We've moved on from thinking that the wind is our friend.
I feel like if that's our metric, though, how much of the book are we going to lose? How much of the chapters which just talk about the specifics of whaling are we going to lose?
Oh, we're going to lose so many of those. Okay.
Do you think for the chapters which are about the violence of whaling, we should just replace those chapters with something nice that we want to talk about instead?
No. This is a deep dive into a bad place abusing animals.
Okay,
and we have to keep that in there.
That's what people are here for.
That's what Peter Coffin gave up his life for. The building, like I say, it was knackered though. Looked like shit. Okay, I got it. But even a place that looks like shit can have a window in it. A window sturdy enough to keep out this bastarding wind. Bastarding cold wind, yeah. Windows. Is there anything they can't do? Depends who's selling them. A good glazier? That's a good window. Death? That's a crap window. Don't waste your time. Won't even keep the cold out. Never trust a skeleton. Okay.
That's a good segue to the next bit.
How it is.
Never trust a skeleton. Then he's saying, yes, these eyes are windows, and this body of mine is the house. What a pity they didn't stop up the chinks and crannies, though, and thrust a little lint here and there. So, is he suggesting it would?
He wants cosmetic surgery.
Yeah, he wished he'd been better made. But it's too late because the universe has finished making people. Is I think what he's getting at.
Oh wait, I forgot to mention the part about him reading a fancy old book that no one else has ever read.
Yeah, which is clearly just Melville making something up.
A lot of wisdom gets bottled up inside this massive brain of mine. You might be wondering how it all came to be trapped inside there. Truth is, I have a magical book which was written by... Does he say who wrote the magic book?
No, he specifically says only I have a copy of it.
Some mysterious guy nobody knows, and only I have a copy of it. I didn't write it. It's slander if you say I did. No. You can't read it. But because I have read it, that's the reason I am so smart, knowledgeable. Yeah, knowledgeable. Smart, knowledgeable, and wise. Okay. So we've talked about his magic book. And then we're going into, yes, these eyes are windows. Okay. But back to windows. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul. See, that's a saying people have. That's updated.
Yeah, and you don't have to quote an author for it. It's just common knowledge.
Just true facts.
Except it's probably Shakespeare. I don't know.
And in that case, the body is the house. Okay. And in that case, the body is the house. And frankly, in my situation, it's a shame nobody thought to address any of the hundreds of structural issues with my build. Does that cover it?
Yeah, that covers it. And well, he kind of said
it's too late to fix it.
Too late now. The universe is finished making people.
Too late now. Don't worry about poor old Ishmael. The universe has called it quits on ever making anything better, let alone me. Or the shitty hotel. I don't know if that's what he's saying, but I'm doing it.
I think that's good.
The copestone and the chips were carted off of it. Okay, copestone and chips. What's he on about?
It's just saying that they're finished building. So it's like chips, as in like wood chips and stuff.
Alright, so they've removed the materials.
Yeah. You can't fix it anymore. And then we're getting into this, the densest part. I think some context helps for this. So Lazarus and Dives or Dives is it's just a name for rich.
Hold up, I'm not paying attention. I'm writing a thing about embezzling construction materials.
Oh, nice.
To the next job now, but I'll bet you they've charged the client as if they were new. Typical.
Is this going to be like a subplot that you're weaving into like John Everyman's retelling of Moby?
He's had an extension put on and he's had a really bad time.
Yeah. This whole exercise is to take his mind off a poor decision in terms of an extension for his house.
I've got no sympathy for John Everyman.
No, I know.
Seems like
I mean, even the tone of it where he's like, I'm writing a book for normal people. Just the idea that John Everyman has that image in his head is...
Moby Dick shit, I'm gonna fix it.
Yeah.
John Everyman is Brexit Britain. Distilled.
Well, don't channel that too hard.
Oh, no, that's gonna fuck me up. Yeah, we've got to ignore that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, about the... Give me this highfalutin theory.
Yeah, so Lazarus and Dives. Dives is just a rich guy, and Lazarus is literally laying on this rich guy's steps, just dying and having a generally bad time of it. And Dives doesn't help him. And then Dives dies, and I think he goes to hell. And while he's in hell, he's like, can I get some help here? And they're like, did you help Lazarus? And that's the moral of the story.
That's a really basic story. Jesus Christ, we've come so far. Like, you compare that and Avengers Infinity War. The pinnacle of storytelling.
Yeah. I mean, I think there is more to the story, but the bit that we need to know is that bit for these purposes. So who knows? Maybe it gets as complex as Avengers Infinity.
We can only
story.
Hope. How many magic stones are in the whales? We need to know. Okay. Coates news on Chips Ricardo. Even knowing the context, I'm having a hard time.
Okay, so we get the context, and he says, so Lazarus, he's like saying, so this story's moral about obviously, help people when you can, and how they're going to be rewarded in heaven or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And he's saying, well, that's all well and good. Lazarus, even if he stuffs things in his ears and mouth, can't keep out this wind. And then we've got old Dives, who's the rich guy, addressing the wind in his red silken wrapper. He had a redder one afterwards. I think that's a reference to hell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then he says "poo poo" as if he's that's his as his stand-up comedian Melville would yell that after every joke.
Catchphrase.
Yes, to make sure people laughed in the right place.
That would work, actually.
And then old Dives, so this rich guy might say, "What a fine frosty night! How Orion glitters! What northern lights!" And then we've got Ishmael saying, "Let them talk of their oriental summer climes, of everlasting conservatories. Give me the privilege of making my own summer with my own coals." So he's saying it's all well and good talking about how it looks nice outside when it's cold, but I would rather stay inside and be warm.
All right, that's the gist.
Yeah. Good luck with this.
Anyway, some people like to look out, because we're still talking about Windows. I'm not going to mention Lazarus or Dives or anything like that, because John Everyman would not care for it.
Don't need it, do we?
No. Some people like to look out of windows, say stupid crap. Like, that snow looks nice. Or the Aurora Borealis is pretty interesting. Me, though? I just want to be warm. I just don't think we need it. This is standard.
It's going to make the next paragraph tricky if we don't refer to Lazarus, but maybe...
Okay, we've got to get Lazarus in. Like that dickhead Dives, who was mean to that old Lazarus guy. Lazarus guy in the old mythology. What Is this a Bible story or is this like Greece? Was it?
Biblical. Yeah.
Biblical. Okay. In the old biblical materials. Just giving him a corn cob to keep the cold out.
That's it works as an interpretation. I like the question mark.
Hanging around in the warmth and letting others freeze to death. A real jerk move, if you ask me. And if you ask God. Alright, what comes next? Because I am lost with this.
I think when we read it back, it will make sense. Okay. So the next.
Oh
paragraph.
my God, he's still talking about it.
But what thinks Lazarus? Can he warm his blue hands by holding them up to the grand northern lights?
Oh.
Would not Lazarus rather be in Sumatra than here? Would he not far rather lay him down lengthways along the line of the equator? Yea, ye gods, go down to the fiery pit itself in order to keep out of this frost. So, hell is preferable to being cold in New Bedford, I think, is the gist of this.
Is that what he's saying? Oh, wait, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have sadly lost the image of Lazarus. He could plug up every hole and the wind would still get through him.
Oh, yeah. Did Lazarus give him a corn cob, or did wait, no. Did Dives give him the corn cob?
I think Ishmael is giving him a corn cob.
Okay, all right.
It's another mystery for John Everyman to solve.
Poor old fool. Plugging up all his holes with corn cobs to keep the wind out. Insanity. Lazarus, the prick.
Wait, is it Dives who's the prick?
Oh shit! Oh, Lazarus is such a better name. They're all pricks. Hanging around in the warmth and letting others freeze to death. Real jerk movie, if you ask me, and if you ask God.
I think that's brilliant. I think you've got it.
But if I was Lazarus, better to be warm in hell than cold in New Bedford. Because I'm pretty sure the original story wouldn't have happened in New Bedford.
I think I'm reading ahead to the next paragraph. I think you're going to enjoy it.
Hang on, I was getting really cold. Standing outside and thinking about all this. Okay.
Okay. Well,
now,
take it away.
That Lazarus should lie stranded there on the curbstone before the door of Dives, this is more wonderful than that an iceberg should be moored to one of the Moluccas. Yet Dives himself, he too lives like a czar in an ice palace made of frozen sighs, and being a president of a temperance society, he only drinks the tepid tears of orphans.
So there you go.
I have questions.
Yeah. Is it about Tories?
Okay. That's all I need to know.
I was going to say, does that answer your question?
still better dead than a Tory. I mean, he wouldn't know what a Tory is.
No, I think
it's not in keeping.
Well, it means something else. I mean, the party anyway. Yeah.
Oh, I know what fucking the word Tory meant back in olden days. It was the fucking Irish word for baby murderer or something, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, that's where the name of the Tories comes from.
Fucking hell.
They are actual monsters, man. Oh, I should add politics to the tags.
You should add balanced political discourse to the tags.
So,
okay.
now that Lazarus should lie...
We've gone off track.
We're nearly there, though. Now that Lazarus should lie stranded there on the curb stone before the door of Dives, this is more wonderful than... Okay, why is he saying it's wonderful? And what's a Molucca?
Wonderful. Okay, secret Moluccas, I think, is referring to somewhere near Indonesia, apparently. I had to look that up.
Okay.
Wonderful, he means it in the sense that it's more strange, like it fills you with like questions. That an iceberg should be more to one of the Moluccas. Right. So it's as weird as an iceberg being in a hot place.
Okay. Right.
And then he's really confusing this weird illusion metaphor by saying, but then again, doesn't in a way this rich guy live in his own frozen hell?
Which his own heart.
Yes.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I was getting really cold standing outside and thinking about all this, but think I did. Lazarus, shivering around and dying of frost on this rich prick Dives doorstep. That's fucked.
Yeah. That's perfect.
People should just share and be nice. You know? Back rubs before backstabs. But then maybe I don't know the whole picture. Having never been a rich dickhead myself, maybe we're all prisoners. Poor people, prisoners of the systems imposed on them by the wealthy. And rich people, prisoners of their own shitty fucking bastard frozen twatscapes of a soul. God, I pray, one day let there be a rain to one day to wash these streets clean.
You're quoting Taxi Driver.
A little bit. He's a bit Travis Bickle, you know?
You're right.
He became a vigilante because he was being a dickhead.
Right.
Like, vigilantism in Taxi Driver is his way.
This is John Everyman's Taxi Driver story. Just him. He just rewrites Moby Dick and just makes it clear he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder about the extension.
There was too much good stuff in here that I should come back to it. Yeah, we'll just lift this. I'm going to rephrase this. So, okay. They might live like kings, but all they'll have to drink in the end is the tepid tears of the orphans systems create.
I mean, you basically just paraphrasing.
Just copy pasted that one, yeah. Okay, last paragraph.
Get a nice easy one for me. But
this is great.
No more of this blubbering now. We are going a whaling. Oh, there is plenty of that yet to come. That's a blubbering joke. Let us scrape the ice from our frosted feet and see what sort of a place this spouter may be.
I'm just copy pasting that.
Isn't that just the best end to a chapter you've ever read?
Pretty much. Yeah, that's basically perfect. That's very easily understood. Blubbering for now, brackets. That's a whaling joke. Just a whale joke.
Yeah.
A whale joke. We are going a whaling. And there's plenty of that yet to come. Tune in. Next time as we scrape the ice.
As we try and dissect whales to extract their valuable essences.
That may be. If I were to have this story described to me, I'd be dead keen to come back next time and hear all about it.
Nice. That's a good call to action.
It is, isn't it? And that's where we'll end that there. Yeah.
Excellent. Should we read back?
We should, I guess. It's a pretty long one.
It is a long one.
I'm gonna leave. Oh, fucking hell! This is longer than the actual. Oh wait.
I can take
pages on that one. How long have we? This was only 2 pages, Andy.
Yeah.
We've gone from 2 pages to 6 pages. Oh wait, that's the first chapter as well. Never mind.
Yeah. I was going to say 2 pages to exactly
2 pages to 2 pages. We're doing a great job of cutting this down.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to leave this one to you.
Cool. Do you remember where we left off last time?
Just from the start. It's the
whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Chapter 2, The Bag. I slung some shirts into my bag and left Manhattan Island, New York, to try and get to Nantucket. But there were no boats, so I was fucked for travel for a bit. It was a Saturday night in December, so it was cold. Gonna hear a lot more about that later. If I were the type of fella looking to go out and do some whaling, which I was, I'd be looking to get started from Nantucket, which, by the way, is an island most easily accessible by a little boat from New Bedford, which is where I was now stuck for a weekend. A lot of whaling history in Nantucket. They've been whaling here for ages, invented it basically. These Wamapoag set off from there ages back before people had even figured out how to tell how far away things are with their eyes. Did you know they used to have to chuck rocks at the whales to see how far away they were? Anyway, Nantucket's the place for a whaleman to be. Annoying that there were no ferries there then. A whole weekend with no bed and no friends. I had a quick poke around in my one pocket. I didn't have much money. Okay, Ishmael, I said to myself, this is shit. I've got no cash and no friends, and now you're in a town you don't know, and you've got to find a place to stay for 2 nights before we can ditch this place. Gloom to the north of me and darkness to the south. I was going to have to pinch some pennies, choose a proper dive, and not complain too much about everything all the time. I took a deep breath and braced for disappointment. Stepping out into the town, I saw the most perfect place. It had a big sign and it looked warm, and all the people inside were so happy and content and had friends. My view into the bar was eventually blocked by the steam from my own mouth settling on the once clean windows. It was even called the Crossed Harpoons. It was perfect for a whaley sailor type such as myself, but it was not perfect for my financial situation. Sadly, I crossed the street to rest my weary face against another window. Same situation. It was a cozy paradise. The snow was melting away back into the streets. This place was so warm. Warm with the normal temperature sort of warmth, but also with a warmth of companionship and goodwill. The swordfish, it was called. It was also a bit too expensive for my pockets and my boots, which were in a really bad state, so I thought I'd better get them out of everybody's way. I turned away and started out deeper into the worst parts of town, since that was more my speed. I was midway through a big sad sigh when I tripped over a massive chunk of ice that was just really properly solid with the pavement, you know, because it was really cold away from those nice warm inns. It was really dark and not that busy. Moving on, I got to a place that wasn't dark and was a bit more busy. Busy with the sound of an ominous poverty-stricken saw creaking from a sign above the door. It had a picture of a whale splashing water out of its top hole. It had some text too. The text said, "The Spouter Inn, Peter Coffin." What the fuck kind of signage was this? I had more questions than answers in my head at the time, and those questions were as follows. Who is Peter Coffin? Is Peter Coffin a person? Is this place a coffin for people called Peter? Was a man named Peter killed here? Was Peter Coffin an owner or organisation which has since gone on to franchise his inn, which was originally called the Spouter Inn? Somebody needed to ask the questions, and that somebody was me. I went in, thinking about asking them. My pocket issues weren't bothering me anyhow, looking at the place, weird name aside. It was a fucking dump. Looked like it had been set on fire in some other town and then dragged into its current location. I bet they knew how to make pea coffee, though, which is a normal version of coffee, and not something involving peas, as a less learned man than I might suspect. The building, like I say, was knackered, though. Looked like shit. But even a place looks like shit can have a window in it. A window sturdy enough to keep out this bastarding cold wind. Windows. Is there anything they can't do? Depends who's selling them. A good glazier? That's a good window. Death? That's a crap window. Don't waste your time. Won't even keep the cold out. Never trust a skeleton. A lot of wisdom gets bottled up inside this massive brain of mine. You might be wondering how it all came to be trapped inside there. Truth is, I have a magic book which is written by some mysterious guy nobody knows, and only I have a copy of it. I didn't write it. It's slander if you say I did, and no, you can't read it. But because I have read it, that's the reason I am so smart, knowledgeable, and wise. Back to windows. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul. Then in that case, the body is the house, and frankly, in my situation, it's a shame nobody thought to address any of the hundreds of structural issues with my build. Too late now. Don't worry about poor old Ishmael. The universe has called quits on ever making anything better, let alone me or this shitty hotel. The building materials are all gone off to the next job, and I'll bet you they've charged the client as if they were new. Typical. Anyway, some people like to look out of windows, say stupid crap like, that snow looks nice, or the Aurora Borealis is pretty interesting. Me, though, I just want to be warm. Like that dickhead D-Vase who was mean to that old Lazarus guy in the old biblical materials. Poor old fool, plugging up all his holes with corn cobs to keep the cold out. Insanity. A Dives the prick, hanging around in the warmth and letting others freeze to death. A real jerk move, if you ask me, and if you ask God. But if I was Lazarus, better to be warm in hell than cold in New Bedford, like I was. I was getting really cold standing outside and thinking about all this. But think I did. Lazarus, shivering around and dying of frost on this rich prick Diva's doorstep. That's fucked. People should just share and be nice, you know? Back rubs before back stabs. But then maybe I don't know the whole picture, having never been a rich dickhead myself. Maybe we're all prisoners. Poor people, prisoners of the systems imposed on them by the wealthy, and rich people, prisoners of their own shitty fucking bastard frozen twatscapes of the soul. They might live like kings, but all they'll have to drink in the end is the tepid tears of the orphans their systems create. But no more of this blubbering now. That's a whale joke. We are going a whaling, and there is plenty of that yet to come. Tune in next time as we scrape the ice from our frosted feet and see what sort of place this spouter may be. If I were to have this story described to me, I'd be dead keen to come back next time and hear all about it. That's wonderful, Sam.
I think we're onto something here. I think there's a lot that we missed out that I feel sad about, but John Everyman wouldn't care.
You've got to make hard choices.
John Everyman's a man of sacrifice, and where it's for the greater good that we've got to leave behind some really good writing and just get the gist across.
I mean, I don't know, when you say he's a man of sacrifice, I think you've established that he's a man who holds grudges over yeah, possibly petty reasons.
Well, yeah, I mean, that might be a bit of slander for you to suggest, though. So
yeah,
let's be careful with that. Yeah, I think maybe keeping in the Lazarus stuff without flat out explaining what happened with the Lazarus story might be relying on too much thinking from the audience.
I think you established enough there just by calling him poor and calling Dives a rich prick. But I mean, you got final say on this. If you feel that it needs to lose,
I'm going to make a little adjustment here.
Okay.
Oh, it was about the materials. Yeah. Like that Dick Diva in the old. How do I slot this in? I just want to give a really one sentence synopsis about it just to make it super clear.
Right. Oh, I thought you were going to cut the paragraph.
Oh no!
It's going to give a log line of that bit of the Lazarus story.
The old biblical materials. Okay. I just want to be warm, like that dickhead Dives who was mean to that old Lazarus guy in the old biblical materials. Yeah, and we'll just throw in
parentheses.
Okay. That horrible. Okay, and then that should still carry, and then we have. You might not have heard about this, but I have, because I hear a lot of things.
I mean,
and read almost as many.
You've established that he has a magic book as well, which teaches him things. So
this was a story about a poor fella dying on a rich fella's doorstep, and the happy ending is that the rich guy went straight to hell. Yeah, that covers it.
That covers it. That's nice.
That powerful. Yeah. Okay. I think we've
Beautiful. That's excellent. Another excellent chapter.
I think so. Only 3 more years of this before we should have a finished product.
I mean, I'm in for the ride now. So
We'll see
I knew when I agreed to this project, it might take up a substantial part of my life.
I did not. All right, cool. I think we'll call it there.
Excellent.
And, yeah. Cheers for today, and I will see you later.
Thanks for having me.
I don't have an ending slide, so it's just going to be that intro one from the start. It'll say "We'll be right with you," but that's just a big lie. This is actually the end. So I'll see you later. Bye.